For a couple things, and then we are off. What's up, everybody? Welcome to the newest episode of the 2021 NFL Mock Draft. I am your host, Juan Rodriguez. People usually call me JR. Juan, Hot Rod, whatever, man. It's all the same to me. It does not matter. So, again, I want to thank everybody for subscribing. I want to thank everybody for liking the videos. I want to thank everybody for sharing, all that fun jazz, and commenting everything. I'm really enjoying it. Well, I like hearing from different people's point of views on football, everything, because it's a very complex game, but there's so many ways of thinking about the game that it's always good to hear from other people's side of the ball. So I love everybody that supports it. I love everybody that shares it, everything, and always share with your friends, family, loved ones. And let's get the show on the road for today, guys. So today we have the first playoff team up to bat. We have the Washington football team. Yeah, I know. They need a name. They need a team name. I understand that, but that's what they went with. So Washington football team, pick 19. They ended up winning the NFC East, but before we get there, let's just see how they got there. So last year, they had a number 2 pick. They went with Chase Young. That was a no-brainer. We all knew he was going to go number 2. There was going to be nothing different. And what do you know? Worked out for him. Defensive Player of the Year. Who knew, right? Yeah, he's a good kid. There's still a lot of potential out there for him to do, but that defense of Washington is amazing. Sorry. Let's see here. They didn't have a second rounder due to some trades and everything, but they did get a starting running back in the third round, 66 overall. They had Antonio Gibson, the running back out of Memphis. I thought that was he surprised the hell out of me. I thought he was going to be like a 4th, 5th rounder, but for Washington to take him in the 3rd and for him to have the season that he had, of course, there's things that he could have done better, but just the promising showing that he did his rookie year, I mean, you got to love that. You have to love that if you're Washington. So now what you really got, when you look at the team's nucleus offensively, you have a number 1 wide receiver in Terry McLaurin. You have a number 1 running back now in Antonio Gibson. You have a tight end in Logan Thomas. That's a great nucleus that you want for Washington. And, that's, like I said, it's been a minute since Washington's been kind of relevant. So it's kind of good to see them back on their winning ways again. A lot of work to do, but good year overall. So 4th rounder went away. They took Sadine or Sadiak. Charles, offensive tackle out of LSU. He's a depth player, but when you always add a player from a championship team in college, you always know that he's got some talent. 4th round, again, I thought this was another solid pickup here. Antonio Gandy Golden, the wide receiver out of Liberty. This dude had all the raves of going in the 2nd, possibly in the 3rd. So for him to fall, it's not necessarily his fault. It's just the wide receiver class was so deep last year that some names were going to fall. And unfortunately, his name was one of them. But to get him in the 4th, good depth, good player, play opposite of Terry McLaurin, you're good to go. 5th round, they took Keith Ishmael, the center out of San Diego State. Center, great player. Enough said. He's just a good depth player overall. 5th round, 162. Kaliki Hudson, the linebacker out of Michigan. Depth, and especially with that defense, they're just deep on defense, and we'll explain that a little bit later. 7th round, 216. Carmen Curls, safety out of Arkansas, depth player. And their last pick, James Smith Williams, defensive end out of North Carolina State. This guy was actually kind of projected to go earlier than the 7th. So to get a rotational pass rusher for your nickel and dime packages in the 7th round, can't beat that, man. Can't beat that. That's pretty good. So it was the first year of Ron Rivera's with his new team after getting let go by Carolina the previous year. He kind of had a little bit of ups and downs, and I did write an article about that. So if you ever want to check it out, it's on the All Sports Talk Facebook page. I talked about sorry, I missed your call, bro. I was outside. Call you tomorrow. No problem, James. Don't worry about it, man. I'll be alive. Don't worry. But Yeah, I did write an article about Ron Rivera about him fighting cancer as he had to go through therapy, chemo, everything during the season, and it just shows you the toughness that he brought, and it showed the toughness in that Washington football team. In his first year, he really did develop a good team. They went 7-9. It was the NFC East, so really they had the whole NFC East just had hard schedules, and the division was terrible. So somebody had to win that division, and Washington was the best team in that division. But it's promising now because usually when Washington wins it, it's like, oh, there's high hopes, and then we don't hear from them again for another 5, 6 seasons. Well, I think this time around, the changing of the guard is here to stay. Ron Rivera did build a great coaching staff for his offensive coordinator, Scott Turner, people that are old school and kind of been watching football for a long time. If that name sounds familiar to you, it should, because that's the son of Norv Turner, longtime head coach of the Chargers. He also did a little stint in Washington, and he also did a little stint with the Raiders back in Oakland. But his most success was with the Chargers, and now his son is taking the reins of offensive coordinator. And, him and Ron Rivera, the Norv Turner and Ron Rivera, they've always been tight buddies. And Norv did turn it down, but his son did take the reins. So it's kind of good that his son is now taking the reins of the offensive coordinator for the Washington football team. And defensive coordinator, I thought this was I don't know why the league allowed this, but when you put Ron Rivera as the head coach and you put Jack Del Rio as the defensive coordinator, that's that's kind of BS for the league to allow that, because when you get those two together, they're old school mentality linebackers, and they know a defensive player when they see one. And overall, I think Ron Rivera did an amazing job, not only battling with cancer, but putting an amazing coaching staff and putting an amazing team out there that kind of gives Washington fans hope for the first time in a really long time, actually, since the RG3 days of his rookie year. So really, in the end, it's kind of like a hopeful. So again, they went 7-9. They went 25th on offense. Kind of what you expected with young nucleus core there, with the Terry McCollum being a team captain just in the second year. Really not a really strong quarterback room. They had Alex Smith, but it was just a comeback story. And now that he's not there no more, Antonio Gibson, young running back, and Logan Thomas, young running back, and a young offensive line. Really what it is now is just they need a leader. They need a leader on that team. And overall, it's just, like I said, 25th on offense and 4th on defense. That defense is scary. You got Chase Young, Montez Sweat, Darren Payne. You got that's your front four. You got Landon Collins as your safety. What are you going to do? What are you going to do? And so, good run. They beat the Eagles final week of the year to win the NFC East. But it would only last, their playoff run would only last 1 week, as they would eventually lose to the Super Bowl champions, Tampa Bay Buccaneers, in the wild card 31-23. It was sort of they kept it close, but Tampa Bay was just kind of fiddling, trying to get it all together, and they did. And then that was the end of the year for them. But a lot of high hopes for Washington. Like I said, for the first time in a long time, Washington looks like a real threat or a contender, and they look promising to win the NFC East if they can fix that offense. So overall, let's just see how they did in free agency. Kind of a couple names that they lost. Ronald Darby, their starting corner, he's now in Denver. Kevin Pierre-Louis, linebacker out of Houston, he's gone. He went to Houston now. Fabian Moreau, another corner, heading to Atlanta. Ryan Anderson, the linebacker from the Giants, he's gone. Robert Foster, wide receiver, is now heading to Miami. And Jeremy Sprinkle, the tight end, is now heading to Dallas. But they did fix some of their offensive issues and defensive issues. So they got another starter in William Jackson. That's a good start. The corner from the Bengals is now former first rounder, leaving Cincinnati to join Washington. They got Curtis Samuel. So now when you got Terry McCollum and Curtis Samuel as your two wide receivers, great place to start. They signed Ryan Fitzpatrick. Many believe that Ryan Fitzpatrick was going to retire, but it just goes to show that I guess for the right price, anything's possible. So now, with Alex Smith gone, he is etched to be the starter there. Daryl Roberts, corner out of Detroit. So now you bring him in. Adam Humphries, the wide receiver from the Titans. That's your slot guy. So now you got Terry, Curtis, and Adam Humphries. Good wide receiver core. That's exactly how you fix your offense right there. Tyler Larson, good depth from the Panthers. He's going to be the backup center. David Mayo, linebacker from the Giants. He's coming from the Giants. And DeAndre Carter, wide receiver from the Bears. He will return punts and kickoff returns more likely than not. So in reality, when you do look at this team, yeah, they can go defense again, but I believe that Jack Del Rio can make chicken crap out of chicken, soup. So I don't think defense is a real focus here. We know that they're going to be fine. Yeah, they did lose some good players and they did lose some good starters, but they also kind of replaced them in a way that they can probably draft later. So really, you got to look at it from everything. You got to look at it from perspective. Do you go on lineman? Maybe. The right guy's pretty good. The right side is good. Up to the center, Morgan Moses, Brendan Sheriff. You got your starting center. Your left tackle, left guard. You can kind of mix and match. Maybe you take a tackle at 19. It wouldn't be a bad start. But however, when you look at this team and you look at the quarterback room, really, it's Ryan Fitzpatrick, Jason Haneke, and somebody else as a third stringer. There's really no future for Washington after Ryan Fitzpatrick. So I think we all know where this is going. I think Washington at 19 is at a perfect slot. And the beauty of it is they don't have to start right away. When you got a Ryan, they just need a veteran leader like an Alex Smith, like a Ryan Fitzpatrick to kind of take the team, and then you keep building for your future quarterback. So we all know, in my opinion, I think Washington is going to go quarterback. It's just which one. So here we go. With the 19th pick of the 2021 NFL Draft, the Washington football team selects Mac Jones, Alabama, quarterback out of Alabama, Michael McCorkey Jones, a.k.a. Mac Jones. That's right, the quarterback out of Alabama, Ryan Fitzpatrick has to be like, oh my God, not again. I cannot do this. 2 years in a row, and an Alabama quarterback's going to start off the season as my backup. Why? So, for the people that don't know, Mac Jones is the quarterback out of Alabama, and it was an interesting start to kind of his, just pretty much interesting his whole college career. So he originally accepted a scholarship to Kentucky. Being one of the best quarterbacks in the nation, he accepted a scholarship to Kentucky. So he would have started his freshman year right away, but he kind of took another route. He went to Alabama. And at that time, they had Hurts, they had Tua, and then there was him. So he kind of redshirted his freshman year. He didn't play. So 2018, Hurts leaves, Tua's the starter, and lo and behold, he only gets a couple snaps because at that year Alabama was just top dog, and Tua was killing it. So 2018, that's when they went to the championship, but they got destroyed by Clemson. And really, all he did that year, 5 for 13, 123 yards, 1 touchdown. 2019, but that was also kind of a weird year because that was also the year where he kind of got in a little bit of a, trouble. He got, arrested for drinking, driving. He had to pay, he had to do his due diligence and everything, and then they suspended him. Like Nick Saban suspended him, and kind of gave him an ultimatum, like square up or ship out. So in 2019, he came back. He looked like a much different person, way better personality. Again, Tua was there, so he really didn't get to start that many games, and But Tua got hurt, and he ended up playing 4 games, and he did really good. 97 of 141 completions, 97 completions out of 141 attempts, 1,500 yards, 14 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. I mean, he didn't really beat anybody. He lost the important game, which was the Iron Bowl, but Auburn was just on a hot streak at that point. I don't even think Tua would have even beaten Auburn. So Tua leaves 2020. It's his first and last year. He's a senior at this point, and this is kind of it for him. He gets the starting job. This is a make or break for him. And 2020, he showed out what he can do as a starter. 311 completions out of 402 attempts. That was nation best of 77%. He threw for 4,500 yards even, which was first in the nation. 41 touchdowns, which was fifth in the nation, and 4 interceptions, which was the best in the nation. Now, before I know, I'm going to hear the criticism. I'm going to hear the criticism of it all. Let me just tell you some of the accolades that this man has won. 2-time national champion, 2017, where he was a redshirt freshman, and 2020 as his junior. The Davey O'Brien Award 2020, the Johnny Unitas Golden Arm Award in 2020, the Peyton Manning Award in 2020, the Consensus All-American in 2020, First Team All-SEC in 2020, SEC Champion in 2018, 2020, and SEC Scholar Athlete of the Year in 2020. Now, I get it. It is the quarterback is the most complicated, overreacted, bone to the core position of all the sport in football. It is the hardest to evaluate. It is the easiest to criticize, and it's all hard. And I already know what the complaints are going to be about Washington taking Mac Jones at 19. Well, he had all the talent. He had this. He had that. Well, so did Tua, and he went number 6 overall to Miami last year, or number 5 to Miami last year, something like that. And this is what I mean. Like it's one of the quarterback is so easily to criticize, and it's so hard to evaluate because Deshaun Watson, Patrick Mahomes, they went after Mitchell Trubisky. So what does that tell you? Nobody can get it right. Nobody can get it right. The Chicago Bears thought that Mitchell Trubisky was better than Deshaun Watson and Patrick Mahomes. Before that, Lamar Jackson had to wait till the last spot in the first round to get taken by Baltimore. Why? Because there were scouts out there that believed he should have switched positions because he wasn't a quarterback, and now he wins. He is now a former league MVP for a quarterback. Want to keep going? There was a once upon a time, Aaron Rodgers had to wait all the way to 24 when he was clearly the best player in the draft, and he had to wait till 24 to fall to Green Bay because the 49ers thought Alex Smith was better, was going to be a better fit for their team than Aaron Rodgers. Before that, it was Big Ben waiting for his name to get called by the Pittsburgh Steelers in that draft class. So what I'm trying to tell you is the quarterback is the most overlooked thing ever because it is the most overanalyzed. It is the most easy to critique, hard to evaluate because you don't know. I get it. Mac Jones had all the talent in the world. I get it. He had top 5 offensive linemen, top 5 defense. Or I'm sorry, 5-star recruit offensive lineman, 5-star recruit defense, 5-star recruit wide receivers. He had all of that. Yeah, but so did everybody else. So did Jalen. So did Tua. So did everybody else. Why are they any different? And even like a Lamar Jackson who didn't have anything in Louisville. Well, he's not a quarterback. He's a running back. You see what it is so hard to evaluate. And before that, it's, well, Blake Bortles or Johnny Manziel. That was the debate in that year's draft class. Johnny Manziel's out of the league and Blake Bortles at a backup in Los Angeles or something like that. And in that draft class, freaking Jimmy G and Derek Carr, has been having the most success, and Jimmy G's about to get shipped out of San Francisco. So what does that tell you? Being a quarterback evaluation is hardest because one, you need a franchise quarterback to survive in the NFL. You need that. Number two, it's so hard to evaluate because you don't know what it's going to be like when they get there. It's easy to look at the film. It's easy to fall in love with the arm, the ooze, the playmaking ability. But until they really get there, you don't know what they're going to have. And that goes for every prospect when you draft from pick number 1 all the way to 256. You're not drafting them because of the oohs and ahs. You're just drafting because of potential. That's what you're drafting. You're drafting potential. I always love hearing this during draft season. Safest pick in the draft, and then what happens 3 years later? That guy's out of the league when he was the safest pick in the draft. It is hard to evaluate players. It is hard. All we can do is make assumptions that they will fit. And here's the thing about Mac Jones, should Washington go this route. He doesn't have to start right away. Ryan Fitzpatrick can take the blame, or he can take the lead for all of this. And if they're winning, hey, Mac Jones, you chill. No matter, I know you're itching to play, but just chill out. We'll build you a better team. So that way when you come in, it is an easy transition from the college leagues to the NFL. I understand. I understand Mac Jones might be a long shot because now hearing that San Francisco might take him at 3, is he the 3rd best quarterback in the draft? I don't know. But San Francisco thinks he is. And that's what I'm trying to tell you guys. It is hard to evaluate these players. It is hard to say how they're going to do, how they're going to end up playing, what's going to happen when they get there. And that's the thing. When teams draft a quarterback first round, they expect him to be the savior of the franchise. Sometimes it doesn't work out that way. Sometimes you need to go through the Aaron Rodgers route, kind of sit there 3 years, 4 years to kind of, get it together. Maybe you need the Patrick Mahomes treatment. Take a year off, and then, we'll ship Alex Smith somewhere else, and then you come in and you take over the league. Sometimes, there's players that come in right away and take the league by storm. Andrew Luck, Cam Newton, Peyton Manning. They didn't have great records their first year, but they took Dan Marino. Come on. And that's the thing I want to emphasize enough is there's no such thing as a safe pick. There's no such thing as a guarantee. You're just drafting off potential. It's the same thing when a couple of years back we were talking about the Cowboys, and it's like, well, the only reason Ezekiel Elliott is like so good is because he has that offensive line. And that's his fault. That Dallas drafted the offensive line so Zeke can have an easier transition to the NFL. Not his fault. So why would it be Mac Jones' fault? Should he go to San Francisco? I was like, well, he's only succeeding because of the defense. That's not his fault. Again, you're just drafting potential. You're not drafting the next John Elway. You're not drafting the next Peyton Manning, Joe Montana. You're just drafting potential. That's all you're doing. I do this because it's fun to kind of see like, hey, man, I think this is the route they're going. Now, is Mac Jones going to go to Washington? Maybe. Maybe not. Will I be right? Maybe. Maybe not. But it all just depends on what Washington thinks. And I think right now, looking at Washington, they want to stay young. Yes, they can afford a flyer on Ryan Fitzpatrick. But think of this. If that defense stays solid for another couple seasons, and they fix that offensive line just a tweak bit, and all that young nucleus, Logan Thomas, Terry McLaurin, Antonio Gibson, they keep producing, and Mac Jones comes in and he's the fiery young QB they need to take them to the next step, and he's the next franchise guy, would it be a stupid pick then? No. But that's the thing. We won't know until a couple years from now when they finally get some taste of some NFL action. So that's what I'm going to go with. I'm going to go with Washington taking Michael McCorkey Jones, or AKA Mac Jones, as people like to call him. And that's my pick. So I want to thank everybody for tuning in today. I want to thank everybody tuning on Facebook Live, YouTube, everything. I always have a fun time with you guys. I love the likes. I love the little hearts that pop up. Love everything. So again, always leave a comment. Uh, leave like a like, share, subscribe, everything. Share with your loved ones. Share with your family. Everything. Tomorrow we got a special treat. The Chicago Bears are on the clock. And Chicago, I do have a guest tomorrow. It is my good friend Josh Tolan from, actually, we have met in Fort Campbell, Kentucky. That's where I first met the man, Fort Campbell, Kentucky. And he's a good dude. He's a cool dude. He loves his Bears, so it's going to be fun to talk to him about the Chicago Bears, what he likes, what he didn't like, what he believes could be the next answer to taking his team farther than just a wild card spot for 2 out of the 3 years. And, what would it take for them to win a Super Bowl? Because it's hard. They have a good defense, and the offense is sort of there. It's just, what do they need to go to the next level? So we'll see. And it's going to be interesting to see what he thinks the Bears are going to do. So other than that, I will see you guys tomorrow with my good friend Josh Tolan. Again, leave a like, comment, share, subscribe, Facebook Live, YouTube, everything. And we will see you guys tomorrow for the Chicago Bears. Take care, everybody, and have a wonderful night, okay?